Lesson 67, finding inverse functions. So if sine of theta equals A, then the arc sine or sine inverse of A equals theta. So if you have an angle and you find the sine of that angle, you get a number. When you do the inverse sine of that number, you get the angle. So it's a way to find angle measures. If cosine of theta equals B, then cos inverse of B will give you theta. And if tangent theta equals C, then tangent inverse of C will give you the angle measure. So if we wanted tangent inverse of negative square root of 3. So we could do square root of 3 is for tangent. So tangent is sine over cos. So we are going to take, we want square root of 3. So we look at the unit circle. And we want negative. So we're going to do sine over cos. So we want square root of 3 over 2 divided by negative 1/2 will give me negative square root of 3. So that is at 2 pi thirds. So we're going to do 2 pi thirds. Oh wait, there's another one that's negative root 3 over 2 divided by 1/2. And that one is where that's negative and the other one's positive. Right here, 5 pi thirds. So since we're going to do all the values for this one of tangent inverse of negative root 3 would be 2 pi thirds plus 2 pi n. That way you can continue to keep going around the circle and getting all the points that are available. And 5 pi thirds plus 2 pi n, where n is an integer. Any integer. So if you had capital sine of theta, that equals a sine of theta for as long as that angle is between negative pi halves and pi halves. So the sine is so sine is x, and x is positive between pi halves and negative pi halves on the unit circle. The capital cosine of theta is equal to cosine of theta for theta between 0 and pi. So between 0 and pi is where the cosine is always positive. And the tangent of theta is a tangent for theta such that theta is between negative pi halves is less than, theta is less than pi halves. So you can't do or equal to because then you're dividing by a 0 and you can't do that. So if you looked at a unit circle, so one like that, okay. This is the quadrants. Notice that the sign is positive between pi halves and negative pi halves. So all of this right here is the x value is positive. So that's how you know it's between negative pi halves and pi halves. And it can equal to it. It can be equal to it because that's our x value, and you can have an x that's 0. And then cosine would be the top half of this unit circle. That's where the y is positive. So between 0 and pi. And then the tangent, since it's sine over cos, and cos is 0, here we can't divide by 0, so tangent is positive between negative pi halves and pi halves. Okay. Another word for inverse, other words, I guess, for inverse is arc. So we'd have like arc sine, arc cosine, and arc tangent. They're one word. Whoops. Cosine has C-O-S-I-N-E. Forgot the I-N-E. Okay. Okay, if I wanted to do capital S, sine inverse of square root of 3 over 2, when you're doing that, you're just looking at one value. So you can look on the unit circle for square root of 3 over 2, and the sign is positive at pi thirds or 60 degrees. And then the cosine inverse of negative 1/2. So since we're doing capital cosine, we have to look between 0 and pi, and cosine is, cosine is x and sine is y. So, so I said it wrong. So sine is this because it's where you get all the y values. Whoops. Cosine would be this. That's where you get all the x values. Whoops, I did that wrong. And then this would give you all the tangents, positives and negatives. Okay, so cosine negative 1/2. So you'd be coming out here, negative 1/2 is going to be right there, which is 2 pi thirds, or 120 degrees. And then capital tangent inverse of sine of 30 degrees. So that would be the same thing as cosine inverse of 1/2. So if you take the sine of 30 degrees, and you get pi sixth, the tangent inverse, how do you do that? Sine of 30 degrees, is square root of 3 over 2. Then if you take the tangent inverse of square root of 3 over 2, why is it cos inverse? I don't remember. It's going to be pi thirds or 60 degrees. How come? So tangent inverse of 30 degrees is sine over cos, so 1/2 divided by square root of 3 over 2, 1 over root 3. Can't remember how I got that. Which one I was doing there. All right, we got one more. We'll come back to that after. Let's go to we're going to be giving you some equations to solve. So I'm going to turn the page. We're going to practice some of these because these are a little bit tough. So solve. We want to find theta. So 2 cos theta minus 1 equals 0. For theta between 0 degrees and 360 degrees. That'll keep you from having to go all the way around over and over. So if we add 1, 2 cos theta equals 1. So cos theta has to be 1/2. So if you do cos inverse of 1/2, you'll get 60 degrees, pi thirds, or 60 degrees, and then the other place that cos is 1/2 is 5 pi thirds, or 300 degrees. So since we want the degree measure to find theta is in degrees, we'd take the 60 and the 300. So you'd have to use your unit circle to find that. let's do one more. 3 tangent theta plus 3 equals 0. If we subtract 3, 3 tangent theta equals -3, divide by 3, tangent theta equals -1. So this is where both sine and cos are the same, but they're opposites. So that's going to be at, wait, we want to do tangent inverse of -1. So that's going to be at, where they're opposites. So 3 pi fourths and 7 pi fourths. 3 pi fourths is 135 degrees and 315 degrees. So we were using the same restrictions on theta, had to be between 0 and 360. Okay, that's the end of the lesson. Kind of want to go